Osimhen has been an absolute standout this season. He's attracted attention from Manchester United, from Chelsea, and without doubt looks to be a genuine force as a striker. He seems to be one of the sexy options and potentially one of the main choices of the masses. And without doubt, he is an absolute star. But is he a sure thing? Is he a perfect fit? Let's look into it. The first thing that stands out when you start digging into what Osman is all about is his general play and his technicality. Now, Osman is in the bottom 5 percentile for passes attempted, with just 14 attempted per game, showing that he has little to no involvement whatsoever in Napoli's build-up play. And Napoli are within the top 5 clubs in your top European leagues for how much possession they have. I think they're 4th, actually, for just how much possession and how many passes that they have per game. And that means he's seeing even less of the ball because the team as a whole is seeing so much of the ball. 14 attempted passes per game is so few. He does rely heavily on their admittedly top quality creativity to feed chances for him. His pass completion is 70%, which is, significantly above average. But I don't really... it's a throwaway stat, really, because pass completion for a striker is not really relevant. Your striker shouldn't be making safe passes. And it depends on where the team are, what he's doing with those passes. If every single time he gets on the ball, he loses it, but he's doing it on the halfway line as you're playing out, that's a problem. But if he's losing balls as he's trying to make things happen on the edge of the box, it's a totally different story. So there needs to be a bit more detail in that pass. But his pass completion is 70%. He averages 3.21 missed controls and 1.66 dispossessions per 90, which is the bottom third of all forwards in Europe. So that's not great. Would he fit alongside our existing personnel? So Marcus Rashford currently is the goal scorer for Manchester United. How would he fit with Rashford? So Rashford's obviously currently the main man, likely going to continue into next season. And if he continues on the trajectory he's on, he'd very, very much be Manchester United's main man. Harry Kane, Gonzalo Ramos, Vlahovic, etc. I think all really suit what Marcus offers and what Marcus brings, especially if you give him the main man contract. But what's crucial for Marcus to excel is the space to attack in behind. But if Osimhen spearheads the attack, he gets into a lot of that space. There's a good chance that you would see them sort of getting in each other's way, potentially, with this. And then you've got the cost. The cost is going to be outrageous. Napoli seemingly don't budge. Remember with all the Milinkovic-Savic, when it was like, 100 million. And they seemingly held firm on that. There's talk of somewhere in the region of 130 million. I think that's too expensive for him. I do. I think it's a bit too expensive, and I don't think Napoli will budge on that either. If they go, that's the price, that's the price. It's been one elite season, but it's only been one elite season. Do we have too many needs in the squad to be able to justify putting 130 million on just one of the needs that we have? And the Serie A to Premier League exchange rate hasn't been great. Serie A being a very tactical and defensive league, in your mind you think strikers that come over to England should be averaging more goals. Maybe there's a little uptick in their delivery, but it hasn't historically been the case. Jovetic only managed 11 goals for City after his £26 million move. You had Sebastian Veron, who didn't really work out for Manchester United. Wasn't quite the flop that he was painted out to be. He was competing with gigs with Scholes and Roy Keane, which is difficult for anybody to manage. You've got Aquilani. Liverpool spent 17 million for him, which was a lot of money back in 2009. He managed just 18 Premier League appearances and got 1 goal for it. You've seen Lukaku go from the Premier League, where he was scoring, over to Serie A, where he started doing a lot of scoring, come back to the Premier League and not score. Shevchenko, people don't realise, this was in the region of like 100 million sort of transfer kind of range when Shevchenko was signed by Chelsea in 2006. He managed 4 goals after being an absolute don in Serie A. He really didn't settle in the slightest. In terms of the suitability, the style of play, I think Osimhen is closest to Erling Howland in style. If you had to sort of go, well, who does he really look like? Now, Erling Howland has proved to be a very effective Premier League striker. Anyone saying that he's been a flop is hoarding all the glue and having a good old sniff of it, because Erling Howland, unfortunately, has done a madness. But he's not going to link play. He's not going to release runners in a way Harry Kane or a more technical forward would do. He's going to be the runner. He's going to be the one that's looking for people to create for him. I think he'd be brilliant transitionally. And I think in a United side of a couple of years ago, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Osimhen might have been hands down the best option in world football. But I think he's in an environment that suits him quite well at the moment. The team is kind of geared up with players who are more creative that are around him, and he seems to be the one tasked with the majority of the goal scoring. That wouldn't be the case at United. There's other players that like to get in on the goals as well. United just aren't set up in the same way. We don't really have the same sort of creative options as Napoli do. Or look at Manchester City's team at the moment. All of the wingers are primarily tasked with being a creator before a goal scorer. Whereas you look at United, they're kind of primarily tasked with being a goal scorer rather than a creator. The creation seems to come from midfield. And I think that would make the transition of Osimhen a little bit difficult. I think he would probably still score goals. I don't think he would be a flop. I don't think he would be a disaster. I just don't think he would be perfect when I take into account the price, when I take into account the play style and what Manchester United is set up. I think Osimhen should be on the list, but I think I would move him down on the list. I think you've got... I think the ones that we already know. I don't think there's any... Look, there's a short list emerging. Harry Kane is most certainly on that list. And if you're going to go for Kane, I'd like to see us go for a young option as well. Have someone that can learn from him, rotate in with him, and be a long-term plan. So you don't run Harry Kane into the ground and you can give him a night off and you might prolong his career. You might get 4 years out of him. So I think if you go for Harry Kane, I'd love to see like a Holland or a Ferguson brought in as well. You've got Vlahovic, who would be an excellent option. You've got Ramos, who would be an excellent option. If we pretend the betting thing hasn't happened, you've got Ivan Toney would probably be an excellent option. So there are plenty of options out there that could take United to the next level. And Osimhen's right in there. I'm certainly not saying this is a disaster and totally avoid it. He's absolutely on the short list. As I do with every signing, we even did it with Ten Hag. You've got to just look at both what they can bring, but also what they might lack to get a complete picture of somebody. And I think there are concerns with Osimhen. I think you've got to be honest about those concerns, especially when it's going to be someone that's £130 million. And I don't think Napoli would budge on that price. So I'd like to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Do you have the same kind of concerns I have? Do you have different concerns? Do you agree with the shortlist? Is there anyone else you want to bring in on that shortlist? I know I mentioned Jonathan David the other day. I was just thinking out loud, really. But, it's gone quiet on him. Has it gone quiet on him because his agency have gone, not happening, and they've just shut it down? Has it gone quiet on him for other reasons? You guys let me know. Was it on the back of a shit World Cup? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll catch you lot in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.